of communication skills. It's not the first lesson. We had another revision class of communication skills. For the past 2 lessons, I hope that you're mastering these skills, as you will be needing these skills for your assessments. All right, we are going to do these skills today. And take care to practice the skills that you show here, because this is not a conventional class where your teacher will be monitoring if you are really mastering the skill. So it's upon you as the learner to see the skill that we show in this lesson, but at your own time, practice the skill. Right, let us look at the design stage of the design process, the design stage of the technological process. Right, remember, grade 7, when we did the design process, we said there are 5 stages of the design process. Let me check if you remember them. Can you remember them? Can you remember the stages? It's IDMEC. IDMEC, investigation, design, make, evaluate, communicate. So you won't forget now, grade 7, will you? Okay. So in the design stage, we have to draw freehand sketches of the drawings of the solutions that we propose for solving the problem that we have identified in the investigation stage. Sketching and drawing are important ways of recording and communicating ideas. The ideas are generated in the design stage. For designers and technologists, sketching is like taking notes. It reminds them of their ideas and helps them to share these ideas with others. So as technologists, we will be sharing our ideas with our clients, okay, to say, hey, I understand your problem, and I think this is what I can make to solve your problem. Sketching is usually done without any instruments. All you need is a pencil and some paper. So the freehand sketches done quickly. It's something that you quickly, sketch just to help yourself remember. That is why at a later stage, you have to develop the drawing and actually give it a final drawing. Right, let us look at the skill of sketching. When we sketch our ideas, grade 7, we use sketching lines. You see, these sketching lines are construction lines. I said we have different line types. If you can look at this line in the sketch, these sketching lines, they are faint, all right? And these are darker. They are darker. So when you want to make a sketch of a food, you start with these sketches. Just to remind yourself that I'm trying to sketch a food. So you're giving yourself an idea that I'm trying to draw something like this. Then you make this faint, right? These are your sketching lines, from which you will develop this. Now this is permanent. After you have drawn the outline, this thick line, we call it the outline, okay? Or the solid line. Now this outline, you can see, is developed from these sketching lines. And you don't see the sketching lines anymore. It means the person who drew this started from the sketching lines, which are construction lines, and drew the permanent outline, then erased erased the sketch lines. You don't see the sketch lines on this permanent drawing. Okay, so in the design stage of the technical process or the design process, you need to draw 3 freehand sketches for the solution. Use thin, faint lines for the guidelines, which are called construction lines. Use thicker, darker lines for the outlines of sketches. So that is how we develop freehand sketching. You practice it. It's a skill that you practice until you get it right. Let's see how we sketch different shapes. How do you sketch a triangle? To sketch a triangle, you would begin with this frame. This should be your construction lines. I don't like this drawing because everything looks solid here. So yeah, you must remember. But at least the sketch here is thickened. Okay. This is relatively thicker than this. Okay. Now, you draw this frame in which you are going to draw, okay, you have these lines making the frame, and because you want to draw a triangle, then you have these other lines, these are construction lines, from which then you are going to shape your triangle nicely. This triangle has gentle edges, it has gentle corners. So you would want to make this final shape a thick line, okay? In the end, you will remove these construction lines and remain with this triangle with gentle curves. So I hope you understand the art of sketching, okay? And then how do you sketch a circle? You know, sometimes when you try to draw a circle freehand, you don't get something that looks like a circle. You might end up having something that looks like an egg, maybe an oval shape, but you have to practice how you sketch a circle. You begin with the frame like we did for the triangle. You begin with the frame, the square frame, and then you make crossing lines on the frame, and then nicely you mark the middle of each line, the middle. Then you know that from the middle, you go to the, you would move your pen from this point in a gentle curve to that point. And from this point to that point, right around this until you complete the circle. Then you would darken this line so that this becomes your permanent drawing. Then you erase the construction lines. Now you can say this is a perfect freehand circle. That's how you sketch a circle. Okay, I have taught you this. I'm bringing it up the 3rd time now. Right. If you would want to draw this stove freehand, you would begin here, come there. And obviously, this would be your broken line. What do you call the broken line? And why do we use broken lines on our drawings? Does anyone know the answer? What is the name of the broken line in drawings? We don't have a broken line here. I'm just thinking we should be having a broken line here for a good reason. Why? Where's my grade 7 today? Why? The test is on the 24th. Modiehi. Now, the broken line, we call it the hidden detail line. We use it in our drawings to show the reader there are other dimensions to this drawing that we are presenting here. Okay, in any case, we won't use them here because we want to draw the stove. So this is how you sketch the stove. Then you can add these other features of the stove to make us believe that this is a stove. And you have your shading there that suggests these are the plates for the stove, all right? So that's your oblique sketching. You can also draw the stove on a grid. Now we use the square grid. We use this. Yesterday I taught you scaling. The scale here is 1:10. What does this scale mean? It means 1 centimeter on the drawing represents 10 centimeters on the real object. So this is the drawing. You can even use your ruler, but you know an advantage of the grid is that you can even draw freehand, because you know that if you want to draw, you don't have to use your instruments that much, because you know that I'm going to get an angle of 45 degrees if I draw from one corner, if I draw from corner to corner of each and every square, okay? The angle will be 45 degrees because these are squares. So a grid actually is what is making your drawing easy. So that's why maybe in your test, you can be required to draw a certain drawing on the grid paper. The examiner knows that it is easy for you. And also take note of the dimensioning. Look at the arrows, the dimensioning arrows, and where you write the measurement. This is where you write the measurement. You don't write the units, you only write the measurement. We know that the measurement is in millimeters. Okay. It's an oblique, or let me go back. This is an oblique drawing. Why do we say it's an oblique drawing? Because one dimension of the object is facing the reader, the whole dimension directly facing the reader, and the other dimensions are slanting at an angle. So we know that this is oblique drawing. Okay. Now, let's try and draw perspective. You draw perspective drawings like this. This is an oblique perspective drawing. You start with the face, then you extend with these construction lines that go to the vanishing point. Then you darken the construction lines and you construct a vertical line. So there will be your T-square here and your set square against the T-square, sliding on your T-square for you to get that vertical line. Okay, and another horizontal line this way. Then you know this is your box. Then you must do a shading. This one is the same box here, but we don't want to just make a box, we want to make a pencil eraser. So this is the pencil eraser with texture and shading. you can give meaning to your drawing, okay? And that's what you do in grade 7. You learn this, you practice it, okay? You draw another line there, and this line is suggesting that this is a container. The shading will tell us that this is a container, and this is the, it looks like a pencil eraser. Then you have to practice shading and texturing. Right, let us look at this shading and texturing from www.learntodrawlessons.com.
I'm Darlene, and you're watching a rapid fire art tutorial. When you add light and shadow to your line drawings, you can make your subject laugh by creating the illusion of form and depth. Flat line drawing jump right off the page. In order to shade cells, you'll need to practice 3 things: pressure control, how to shade smoothly, and most importantly, understand how light behaves. I'm going to run you through all 3 things, and then we'll shade something together. Pressure control. Realistic shading is done by creating a series of values ranging from light to dark. The harder I press down on the pencil, the darker it grows. Portraits displaying a limited value range can end up looking very flat, while portraits with a wider value range will pop. To have good pressure control, practice shading from one end of your sketchbook to the other, while pressing harder and harder until the values get darker gradually. Another way to practice is to draw a long rectangle behind separate squares. Fill the squares from right to left. Start with the darkest value you can possibly make, and work your way towards the lightest. It's important to maintain a consistent pressure between each back and forth stroke, or each individual stroke. This will take some practice and concentration to allow the muscle memory. If you're interested in the tools I use and want to learn more about the different pencil types, check out the link below. Some tools can make shading easier for you, but you're absolutely dependent on any special pencils to get started, because you can draw and shade realistically with pretty much anything that can make light to dark lines. Okay, I'm going to try using this random stick I found. I can use it just like a regular pencil. My point is that any other pencil will do. There is no reason why you can't start shading today. Really, the most important thing is just to start. How to shade smoothly. To shade smoothly, try to eliminate major gaps between your strokes while maintaining good pressure control. It's difficult to eliminate gaps if your pencil is sharp, so what you can do is roll the pencil down until the tip is down, or use the side of the mat to draw, so your strokes are thinner. If you're shading a large area and want to avoid these dark strokes, avoid using your line while moving it to the west. Instead, using overlay and pivot your line shadow understanding that. Have you ever tried shading something over and over without it looking even close to your subject? For most beginners, shading is really a guessing game. That's totally what it was for me. Until I learned the basics of Oblique, things just started making more sense. Now, I want to level up optimal software to make a practical difference in how realistic they are working with. It's most visible on the right table. Side of the wall. So as you can see, we have two types of light. So things in the environment that are due to the fact that ground surfaces absorb light. So in this example, the first eye is not noticing. Going back to the image of the nose, can you tell which areas are the ground absence and where the first eyes are? As mentioned earlier, light can reflect off of many things in the environment, but they have a difficult time bouncing their way into tight spaces, such as the area where the ground touches the table. This is called imposing zone. And this is a cash check, which adjusts the thermal oxide formation up. In this case, the ground is black and white. What can you find on the nose? Let's move on to the light side. On this side, there are only three things I have to look at. There's the core light, which is the gravity using the light directly. Then there's the light, which is actually the reflection of the glass. This can appear soft on mass. Forward as it seems, the highlight can change position depending on where you're standing. The watermarks that are midtones are halftones. Midtones make the spectrum side of the ball, where the metals start curving and rounding the exits. These lines receive less and less light. Can you find the core line higher in midtones and less? Share with me. Let's show them numbers together without looking at any of them images. With our wasn't lines of the average notes, we can simply draw them. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. Just have sit on a table, so draw the edge of that. Let's say the apple is sitting on a white table. How do you know which side is on? Take one side to the right to the side. Draw out your side. The total size is the balance. How bright do you want the right side of the apple to be? It's totally up to you. Think about that. When you're done, use an eraser to put the tape back. If you want to do it to the top of the face, it's not going to be those numbers to form that. If you are done processing those numbers, smile on the numbers, smile on the numbers, and some numbers. So let's go over to the side. All of those things are going on. What you can tell when you are use those styles as much as possible so they don't slow down your head. If you are too large or less, you can slow them down until they disappear. Practice. Place a few objects on a table under a single axis. Observe the patterns of light and shadow on each object. Understand by looking at it, turn down the scene and find the right answer. You can comment and pick an object to object. If you find an object, ask the person that you know that object says. Use only one lens on his or her face. It only helps to draw people that you know very well. And that's our practice. If you're going to subscribe to my channel, thanks for following the next single photo. If you haven't subscribed yet, put that over button down below. Let me know if you like this video and if you want more solar videos.
Yes, that was a lesson on texture and shading. As you also, it takes a lot of practice. You can check that video again from Rapid Fire Art, okay? And use this link that is displayed here to get to that video. When you shade your objects in sketching, you saw that the video depicted a freehand drawing. So it's an art that you practice. It is called artistic drawing in technology because that's where your artistic skills come in, and you develop those in technology. You don't just develop them overnight, but you need to practice time and again. You can start, I like the apple example, because a drawing like an apple could be a tomato, it could be an orange. It is your texturing and color that will determine what it is that you are trying to present in your freehand sketches. So it will not be in your test that you should texture and shade an item for assessment. But for your portfolio, you need to learn that. When you have developed your texturing and shading skills, you can add your color. You can play around with color. You saw this picture yesterday when we did our perspective drawing. But I want you to pay attention to the shading that is being done here. You can see the movement of the hand here, the sideways movement of the hand of the person who was coloring here. So this is the effect that you get with texturing and shading. Practice this at home. Now, this is your single point perspective with color. That's a skill that we learn in GET from grade 7 to grade 9. So in all these grades, you have to practice this single point perspective so that at the end of your grade 9, you are able to draw a room in perspective drawing. Just practice drawing your bedroom in perspective, single point perspective. Draw your kitchen. You start from small items. Start with the rubber, this pencil eraser. Start with this. Practice drawing this in perspective drawing. Practice the texturing. Then come to this. Try to add color. Try to add texture. Use shading. You can see the shading here on the road. You can see that the movement was moving. The movement of the pencil was up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. This way it was sideways. You see, but you get better with practice. This was taken from art projects for kids. Okay, you practice. Okay, this was taken from drawingtutorials101.com. Single point perspective. You see, the images look big at the beginning and they seem to be vanishing to the vanishing point. It's simple, it's single point perspective. Try and practice that at home. Okay, and I can see that this is not just freehand sketches. A ruler was, or drawing instruments, they were used here in drawing this perspective drawing. The shading, this shading suggests that light. Remember that little sun that you saw in the video is coming from this side. So the color and the intensity of the shading, it suggests which side has the shade, which side has the sun, or from which side is the light coming. This was taken from drawingtutorials101.com. You see that this side is lighter, even the wall, this side is lighter, and then it darkens towards the vanishing point. Okay. When you have time, practice single point vanishing, a single point perspective drawing, and add color to it. Okay, that will be all for today, grade 7. Your assessments are on the 24th. Ensure that you revise term 1 work like we've been doing in these lessons, term 1 work, term 2 work, drawing skills that are involved there, because you will be getting drawing skills in your assessments. You will be required to draw using your instruments. You'll be required to draw using your grid. You might be given a grid to draw on. Okay, thank you very much, grade 7. Have a lovely day.